Israeli officials have told so many lies since October the 7th with so little pushback from the media that it's hard to keep up. So here from ZETAO is the first in a new segment we're calling Debunked. The top 7 lies about Gaza debunked. Lie number 1. There was already a ceasefire on October the 6th and Hamas broke it. You see it said everywhere by Benjamin Netanyahu, by Hillary Clinton. They all say it, and yet it's completely false. Just 2 weeks before October the 7th, Israeli airstrikes hit Gaza for the 3rd day in a row. And on October the 4th, Gaza Strip protesters received bullet wounds to ankles, medics report. Does that sound like a ceasefire to you? Even over in the occupied West Bank, before Hamas's attack on October the 7th, Israeli forces had already killed a record 234 Palestinians. If there was a ceasefire in place before October the 7th, nobody told the Israeli military. Lie number 2. The priority is freeing the hostages. There's no higher priority, Joe Biden has said. And yet, last month, Israel's finance minister said bringing home the hostages is not the top priority. Hamas must be defeated, he said. Wittingly or unwittingly, the Israeli military has actually killed more Israeli hostages than its soldiers have rescued. In fact, as one Israeli journalist recently tweeted, citing new reporting from an Israeli news website, 10 hostages were killed by Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, some even as the Israeli military had intel they were residing in the buildings that were targeted. The IDF reportedly killed their own citizens and then lied and said they died in, quote, Hamas captivity. But sure, it's all about the hostages. Lie number 3. 40 beheaded babies. How can we forget the most emotive and most offensive lie of this entire conflict? A lie that went viral and was repeated by the President of the United States, who falsely said he saw pictures of beheaded babies, even though there weren't any. Nor were their babies burned in ovens, as Israeli newspaper Haaretz proved in their investigation. They were all lies. In fact, according to data released by Israel's Social Security Agency, tragically there was one baby killed on October the 7th, 10-month-old Mila Cohen, may her memory be a blessing. But in the interests of facts, she was not beheaded. Now, one baby killed is one baby too many, a tragedy, a crime. But 40 beheaded babies is just a cynical, reckless, repulsive lie that was then used to justify the killing of hundreds of Palestinian babies. Lie number 4, there was a Hamas base underneath the Al-Shifa hospital. Remember this video from the Israeli military claiming Hamas's main headquarters were under the hospital? Wow, an underground lair straight out of a Bond movie. To this day, we have yet to see any evidence of such a headquarters under Al-Shifa. Sure, as the AP has reported, the Israelis found a pair of metal cots in a room fashioned from rusty white tile. They appeared to be out of use. Meanwhile, the Washington Post said the underground rooms found by Israel showed no immediate evidence of military use by Hamas, and Israel has provided no hard evidence that Hamas was using the hospital as a command and control center. The Israeli military lied so that they could attack more hospitals under the same false pretext.
One of my most favorite journalists of all time, Mehdi Hassan, is back. He is back. You know, he was one of those journalists who really pushed back on this so-called Israel's war against Hamas. He was the one who really pushed back. Many of the CNN, BBC reporters just take whatever Israeli authorities were willing to tell them. They just take everything on face value and did not really push back on what those Israeli authorities were saying. Mehdi Hassan did that, and people are speculating that the pushback might have been what caused his job. So he was let go. But according to him, it was a great thing because he is now able to do what he has always wanted to do. He is now starting his own network. And he hoped that this network will be able to provide credible information to people around the world. You know, like Andrew Tate will always say, legacy media is garbage. And at a certain point in time, you will accept with them. Because I always make example of myself as an African, because we've seen this again and again. Well, at least if you're someone who is up to date with what the media says. You must have realized that Western media have always go along with a certain narrative that is not necessarily the truth. They have always just repeated lines that are not necessarily the truth. And when it comes to them defending themselves against other nations, they will always go along a particular line. For example, before George W. Bush was to invade Afghanistan and Iraq, they all went along with this line of Saddam Hussein being a dictator, Saddam Hussein being an authoritarian, Saddam Hussein being a barbarian, Saddam Hussein causing harm to the people in Iraq, Saddam Hussein not being a great leader. The CNN, the BBC, the ABC, the CBC, they all spread this like wildfire. That was all we could hear. That was all we could watch. Day in, day out. They all spread this. They took lines from the Bush administration and they all went along with it. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction, and so they have to stop him from causing harm to the people in Iraq and neighboring nations. They have to do that. And they went into Iraq. They destabilized the country. They killed Saddam Hussein. And after all that, it was found out that Saddam Hussein did not have those weapons of mass destruction. He did not have them. But the damage was done. The damage was done. And look at where Iraq is at the moment. Same thing they did in Libya. NATO went to Libya and legacy media supported them, spread their lies, and they destroyed Libya. The CNN, the BBC will always call our leaders authoritarian. Not that they are not authoritarian, that's not the point. They are authoritarian, but the point is the legacy media will always portray us or portray our leaders as authoritarian and their leaders as democrat. But if we look deeply, if we really square out everything, are they really democrat? Are those leaders really, really democratic? Do they practice what they preach? Do they? How democratic is it when a country like America invade another country out of false pretense? How democratic is that? How democratic is that when the legacy media in America, the BBC, the CNN, the Fox, the ABC, cannot tell the truth? They will rather just suck it up to Israel. Israel is out there committing war crimes in Gaza, starving the Gazians, pushing them to the edge of death. And the BBC and the CNN and the ABC and the Fox wouldn't say anything about it. All they will say is, Israel has the right to defend themselves. Hamas did the terrible thing on the Israelis. This is second only to the Holocaust, and Israel must defend itself. That's all what they say. What about the Palestinians? What about 70 years of occupation? What about the people in West Bank? What about Israel's encroachment on Palestinian land in the West Bank? Why is nobody talking about that? So Mehdi Hassan has promised that he would make sure that enough light be shed on issues like this. We need many, many more independent media. We need many, many more independent voices to balance this media narrative because it is so unbalanced. So let's wish Mehdi Hassan all the best in his endeavors. And to you guys out there, share your thoughts and opinions with us in the comment section below. Have you been following Mehdi Hassan? And if yes, what is your take on his journalism? Let us know in the comment section below because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel because that helps us a lot. And see you in the next one.